Hello again, beautiful people. So I am here to show you how to do some more advanced editing of your video documentation from your experiential installation projects using a program called Adobe Premiere Rush. I mentioned in the previous video that I wanted to was going to use iMovie, which is also an option. They both are free, and iMovie can work pretty well for some quick things. But the problem is it's only available on iOS on iPhones and for Apple software. So what I liked about Adobe Rush is one that it's similar. It's kind of a pared down version of Premiere Pro that we've been using in class, but also that it's you can use it across platforms from both Windows and Mac, and for iPhones, Androids, and other phones as well. So that's the one I think would be best to use if you want to do a little bit more editing for your documentation or to experiment with it. So I'm going to go to the App Store to download this program. It's called Adobe Premiere Rush. I think if you just type in Premiere Rush, it should pop up, and select it. And there it is, RU for Rush. So if you want, go ahead and download it. I'll go back to my home page for now. And then let's see, so we should be at the place that you guys were at last time, where you had the video clips that I had sent to you of the documentation downloaded to your phone and in your photos setting downloaded from the Google Drive. So look at the previous video if you didn't get that or weren't able to get that done. So I'm going to scroll over, and here's my Premiere Rush. Click it to open. In some cases, it might sync it with your other Creative Cloud. You're able to do that. A nice thing about Premiere Rush is that it will actually, you can share projects between different versions of Rush, both on your computer, on a laptop, and on your phone, if you share them through the Creative Cloud. The limitations for the free version are that you get 3 exports. So you can export 3 projects or export a project 3 times before you then have to pay to export some more. So it should be fine for this quick test for this project. I think after that it's $10 a month, or if you already have Premiere installed on a laptop, it's free as long as you log in through that. So you should be able to get Premiere Rush and be able to edit movies using using this interface on your phone. So I'm going to make a new project. This window might be a little bit different. Let me take a peek around. Here's profile. You have some storage, which is nice. And if your front page might be a little bit different as you first open the program, but if you hit this plus button in this case, I'm going to start a new project, basically like starting a new project in Premiere. Create a new project, add media. So what's different from Rush and Premiere Pro that we've been using in the term is that Rush asks you to add your media first. You have to add at least some of your videos. You can always add more, but it's not like you open up a project and then add the media. So you do that first. And you can take media directly from your camera right away, or you can upload it from your camera roll. So you have some options here. You can also use Dropbox. I really wish they had for your cloud ability to download projects from your Google Drive. That would save a lot. So unfortunately, they only have it for Dropbox so far. So I'm going to go to my camera roll because we did save those clips on our camera roll. And here are the most recent videos that we have. Some of them look familiar, including the cute baby kitty, this checkerboard one on the top right, which is a little bit of Tatiana's project, and then a dark one down here in the middle. So I'm going to select those 3. I got kitty, Tatiana's project, and this other clip I have of a dark performance scene from a concert I was taking part in a couple days ago. So you see in the bottom left here, you can sync it with your Creative Cloud. So that's something we didn't really go over, and it's not really a big deal, but you can share files between your various computers you're using with through the Creative Cloud. But right here, we're just going to build our project from the stuff we have on our phone. Click Create. Takes a second. This might take a little bit longer if you have larger files. And then poof, we have a relatively simple video interface, video editing interface that we'll go through right now. So as I scroll through, I just grabbing on with my thumb and moving this timeline at the bottom. We see that we have Kitty as the first clip, then Tatiana's clip, and then this other dark performance clip. And if you press the play button underneath the video, you can play it back in real time. And you see how it just plunks down these clips right here. As a quick aside, what I don't like about Adobe Rush is that if you've used iMovie before or the new version of Final Cut Pro X, it has a similar thing where it has what's called a magnetic timeline. Unlike Adobe that we've been using, the Premiere, where you can stretch things out over a long space, this one you can't move the videos. They all kind of stick together. There's no way to add blank video in between, at least no way that I could easily find through when I was doing some tests on it. But for being able to edit quick stuff on your phone, it's actually pretty nice. So let's take a little tour through this project. We'll start on the top. The home page tells us our projects. We're going to see if we can rename this project. So here's test one is what I was doing before. I know I failed to give my project a name, so now I'm at the project number. I'm clicking these three buttons to the right of it. I'm going to rename. I'll call this phone, if I can actually type here, phone edit project, because it's testing how we can edit on our phone. Click rename, and then I'm going to click on the kitty's face, go back to the editor. So here we are back in our editor. That was in the top left, the home button. This reverse arrow, if I click it, is the undo redo button. So if you ever do something that you need to change or undo, that's that button right there. The next one next to it is the export. We're going to get to that in a second, that little box with an arrow facing upwards. And this one is feedback. I don't even know what that is. Okay, cool. So now we look at the bottom screen. If we add the button for add, that plus button will allow us to add more media. And what it will do is it won't add it to a folder and then allow us to add it to this timeline. It just kind of plunks it right in the timeline wherever the playhead. You can capture something directly from your live camera. You can make a new title, a new text bit, and then or get some media from elsewhere on your computer, or do a voiceover. So I click the main screen to get out of that. The one next to it shows us our project assets. These are all the clips that are in the project currently. So I'm going to deselect that, the exit box to the top right. The one next to that, so it's a vertical line with 3 horizontal lines, changes the view from a really basic, just single line, single track timeline to, if I click that, now it has something more familiar to us from Premiere. It has video and audio tracks, multiple tracks. So I'm going to stick with this because we're going to do, not super advanced, but just a little bit more advanced than shuffling the videos around. This is for people who want to do this. So we're going to leave that effect there, or that view there, and check out the next one next to it. So this button with this kind of one oriented square portrait and one oriented rectangle landscape next to each other allows us to actually change the layout of our particular sequence of the project we're working on. We can switch easily from landscape to portrait or square, depending on if you're working on a video for Instagram or Twitter or whatever. So we're going to stay with landscape because that's what we're working with, but it's a nice function. It actually makes it really easy to switch between those window layouts. And now we scroll over a little bit. We see a titles button, transition, color, speed, audio, transform, and then some tools over here on the right. A cut tool, which is a make a snip edit. What's this one? I think the plus one is actually duplicate the clip, and it moves another one, moves that duplicate into the timeline with it. Trash can will erase whatever we have selected. And then, I don't know what this one, oh yeah, this is the track height. It allows us to see more clearly the audio and video. We'll get to that in a second. And then I believe the arrows for extra tools or allows us to select. It says it's for tools, but I don't see other tools to add. Okay, so here we have this layout. The recipe I want to do for this project is I want to start with Tatiana's clip, then go to the kitty clip, and then I'll get back to what I want to do with this dark musicians clip. So to zoom in, you just kind of, like you would zoom in for a video, take two fingers and move them opposite directions. You can zoom into the timeline that way. If you click one clip, you can now shuffle it around, again, and sort of move them from one place to another in orientation. As it does it, it fills in the space. So now we have Tatiana's clip. If I hit play, and then start off, and I'm going to advance it. There's Kitten, and then there's Dark Musicians. Great. So like we did in the simple YouTube edit, I want to get rid of this first checkerboarded, oh, got away from me, this first checkerboarded video from Tatiana's project and start right about there. So there's two ways you can edit. You can, like we did in the YouTube clip, you can just grab the edge if you have it selected so the orange is highlighted out a little bit and drag it, come on now, drag it on in. It's a little finicky. There we go. So you can do that. Or you can move the playhead to where you want it to cut and then use the scissor tool. And if the scissor tool is missing, it might be because you have to scroll over to the right to get it. To make that cut, and then it divided those clips into two. So here's the checkerboard, there's Tatiana, entering the screen. So I want to get rid of this little clip. I have it selected and I click the trash can right below it. Boom, it's gone. Cool. All right, so now Tatiana goes in. And I do want to also, whoops, I want to cut before I go oh in the video when I realize we made a mistake. So right before she gets her leg up, I'm going to make another edit here using the scissor tool below, clip. It's already selected, so if I hit the trash can, it should delete it and close up that space. Great. So now we have this clip. Cool. It goes to the musicians. You can hear them in a second. I'm going to zoom back out by two-finger click and drag towards each other to change the scale. And I want that kitten to be the next shot. So I'm going to grab it, hold with my thumb. This is a little janky. If I move it, we'll get to putting things to different clips again, or sorry, different tracks in a second. All right, come on. Drag kitten in between. No, over here, please. Undo. So I shrunk it to nothing, so this is a good job for the undo button in the top center. Gonna zoom in a little bit so I have a little easier handle. This would be a lot easier on an iPad or a tablet with a bigger screen. Okay, so now we got, first shot is Tatiana's project, and then cat. I'm gonna trim the cat. Well, I'll leave the cat as is. He's cute. So I want to cross dissolve between these two clips. I don't want that hard cut. So I'm going to scroll on the bottom back over to transitions. Click transitions and I get a bunch of options. Well, not a bunch. It luckily only has the ones that are most used. So there's a cross dissolve, a dip to black, which we know about. Maybe I'll use a dip to black so it creates a little bit more of a visual break. So I have the spot selected. I'm going to click dip to black. And now when I play it with this button right below the image, it dips to black and shows the kitten. Awesome. Okay, so here's something I want to do for folks who might have a couple of video clips they want to edit together, or maybe you have from your project one of the clips where you want to include the audio from the nice exported audio, for instance, Jaden's project or Shireen and Mallory's project, where you had an intensive audio file, then you might want to put over the documentation here and mute the sound from the documentation. We can do that. So that's what this other clip I dragged in from a totally different project is all about. So I'm going to shrink it just so it's a little bit more manageable. But for you, you wanted to get it, kind of positioned the way you'd like to line up with the other clip. So again, what we're doing is we're imagining that I'm going to put this clip over this clip somehow and synchronize the sounds a little bit. So I'm gonna get out of this transition spot so we have a little bit more room in the timeline. Gonna click and grab this third clip, move it up to the next track, and I moved it way up to the fourth video track. So I'm gonna click and drag it down and put it over my first clip of Tatiana's project. I'm going to shrink it just so it sort of fits. So what we might imagine this being is it cutting from one video clip you have of your project to another one. And you can move it along this top second video layer, this video track here, to fit in sync. So when it transitions to this next shot, it will be in sync. And you can use the sound. Unfortunately, there's no computer-based synchronizing with this rush, but this is a way you can kind of eyeball it. Problem is, if I hit play, we hear the musician start playing on the top one. I don't want the audio from the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click. Actually, first I'm going to do is click the track 1 video. Click and hold it, and then here comes separate audio. So as I separate it, it puts the audio from being married to the video track down on an audio track below. You can see the recognizable green audio track color. I'm going to do the same for this second video clip up top. Click, hold, separate audio, and I moved it down there. And then I can just mute this audio track where the audio from video track 2 is playing, and all I hear is the audio from Tatiana's project. And then it makes a transition into the cat. And if I want to change something about the audio, I can now double click it. Or I'm sorry, just click it once to highlight it. Select the audio button. And you can control the clip volume. You can mute it. You can select which kind of voice type it is or music. There's some basic functionality being able to turn it up and down. Unfortunately, I don't think you can keyframe it at this point, but that's good enough for now if you needed to turn it up or down. Okay, so I'm going to pick this, click this bottom left arrow to the left to get rid of that screen. All right, last thing I'm going to do is add a title. One thing that I found a bit frustrating about this program is you can't add blank. I can't find a way to add text to a blank video. You have to add it over some pre-existing video. So I'm going to just click title to get a title going. And it has a bunch of odd options for title styles. And some more over here, some animated ones. Okay, click close. I'm going to go for a basic lower third. And as I select it, it puts it in a different video track, puts it in the third video track up there. It says title. And if I click on the main screen, I can change the text. So let's say and call this installation project you have to kind of select in and out to delete this. By Jacob. Click done. click back on the bottom left to get rid of this title screen. You can also change the font size. See what options we got here. Or you could save a template if you have a title that you really like and use this option. Color fill, I believe, would allow you to change the color of the text itself. But for right now, let's just keep it simple. All right, so if I hit play, we see that title pops up. And you can change its size by zooming in, clicking on the edge, dragging in. You can change its location but it has to be tied to one of the other media clips. This is very much like Final Cut and iMovie, which I don't really like, because you can't really do it independent. It has to be sort of married to one of the other clips. You can also add transitions down here at the bottom again if you want to fade in. I'm going to have it cross dissolve. Hold up. So they both fade in. And you see the audio for this one. I didn't separate it already, so it's attached to the video. All right, I'm going to shorten my kitty clip just a little bit. Grab that end, drag it in, and make sure it fades out at the end. Nope. So I'm going to click the end, move the playhead. I haven't figured out whether it puts the transition where the playhead is or just kind of guesses on where you want it, but I'm going to have that cross fade out, cross dissolve. You can change the default duration, etc. there. So now if I hit play, fades out. Cute. Okay. All right, here's a bit I forgot to add in the Premiere Rush project we were working on our phone. So here's where we have the image of Tati's project, the Stark musician's image with the text, and then the kitty. One thing I wanted to add for editing was this background, the image here of the musicians in the dark. Since a lot of your projects are in the dark, they're video installations, there are some easy and effective color and exposure changing tools in Premiere Rush that are useful to use and you can play with and use to make your footage a little bit easier to read for this installation documentation. So first thing I'm going to do is this installation text is a bit chunky and big. I'm just going to mute it by clicking the eyeball on video track 3 up there, just so I can see. This is the clip I want to change here. I'm going to zoom in a bit. This clip of these musicians in the dark. So I'm going to select it so it's highlighted. I just want to select it once. If I clicked it twice, that's why that that info came out. Sorry. All right, here we go. Select it. Going on my list of options down on the bottom, I'm going to scroll over to color. And I see on the bottom bits, I can change the bottom level. There's some, you can select different presets. These look very similar to the ones in Final Cut. They may or may not be useful for you, but what I really want to do is I want to make this brighter, this image. That's all I want to do. I want to make it read a little bit better. This is often a case you'll have when you're working with documentation of dark projects. So I'm going to scroll down here, and here's exposure. So I can change, I click this, and I can really just bring the exposure up a little bit and make it a little clearer. I have also option to change the highlights, the shadows. Sometimes the shadows are dark. There's things in the black background that I want to bring up. I can turn that up. And for this being on a phone and me doing this really quickly, it's pretty amazing. So I do like this. And if I go back, click back here, turn on the text, turn on the title track, the track with the titles, that's video track 3. Press play. I can see those musicians a lot better. So that's great. That's what I want. So I just wanted to let you know that you can use these tools to make color and exposure edits onto your clip in your phone using this project. So that's a little bit I missed, and I'll head back to the export instruction just now. Cute. Okay, so here is my project. It looks fantastic. I want to export it. I'm going to go to the top, second from the right, that square with the arrow facing up to export. And see, it says I get 3 exports with a free starter plan and blah, blah, blah. Wants me to upgrade, but I don't need to do that just now. So I'm going to click the export button. All right, I'm canceling for a second because I want to see if it'll allow me to share after it's been rendered. Okay, got it. So it wants me to render it first before it exports. So I didn't want to waste one of my 3 exports on an error. So this part I didn't test because I already knew I only had 3 exports. So okay, got my project, export. This might take a while depending on the length of your project. Great, so it saved it to the camera roll, and I can click to publish to YouTube. It'll ask you to sign in, and you'll be able to enter the information there and upload the project directly to your YouTube account. Okay, I hope that makes sense to y'all.